Hello and welcome back. Streaming to you live from reInvent at the Venetian. I'm A.M. Grabelny, joined by my buddy Brandon.
Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. There's been a lot of awesome announcements today. We're going to be talking about one of the things that we launched during the keynote this morning. We're joined by Kai. Kai is an expert when it comes to DynamoDB, is that right?
That's what I hear, at least, yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
We're going to start with an overview of what DynamoDB is. So can you give us like a 2-minute understanding of what it is and what kind of database it is?
Sure, yeah. So Amazon DynamoDB is AWS's key value and document database. It delivers single-digit millisecond performance at really any scale, up to millions of requests per second. It's fully managed, it's multi-region, it's multi-master, and it's got built-in security, backup and restore capabilities, in-memory caching, as well as time to live.
Yeah,
Cool.
It's a key value store, right?
Yeah.
Like that's, I think, one of the key pieces to starting to understand what DynamoDB is and does. I can just pick an arbitrary key and then store a value and retrieve it the same way.
That's right, yeah. If you're not familiar with that terminology, you might have heard the phrase NoSQL before, you might have heard non-relational. DynamoDB is, it's a key value store, it's a non-relational database. It provides NoSQL database functionality.
Right, and NoSQL is actually applicable to a lot of different sets of databases, right? Graph databases are even called NoSQL in some respects.
Yeah.
So I think that key value is the piece that really differentiates Dynamo. Another example of a key value store might be Redis, something like that, right?
Yeah, and the main differentiation between a relational database and a key value database is that you can have unique, discrete data shapes for each record, each document, each type of thing that you're storing, right?
That's right, yeah. In DynamoDB, there's no need to adhere to any kind of fixed or rigid schema, right? For any attributes, for any item that you insert into the database, analogous to a row, you can put as many or as few attributes as you want. It's totally freeform, totally flexible. It's up to you.
Yeah.
One of the exciting things that we announced during the keynote, amongst many exciting things, right? I got to shill a little bit, right?
Robots, I love the robots.
Robots are super cool. But one of the exciting things was around Dynamo, and I'll just weigh in here a little bit. I have most of my experience with Dynamo from serverless architectures, right? I love serverless. It's my go-to. If I can build in that architecture, I will. And Dynamo is often paired together with serverless architecture. Can you talk a little bit why that is what happens, right? Why do people pick Dynamo in a serverless architecture?
Yeah. So one of the reasons why Dynamo fits well in serverless architectures is because there's really no servers to manage, right? Unlike a lot of traditional databases where you have to select some server hardware, you have to select the right balance of CPU and memory and disk, in DynamoDB, all of those selections are abstracted away from you as the customer. The only thing you have to worry about is driving reads and writes into your table.
Right, and get it? Just kidding. So also, the other point too, in the serverless architectures, there's kind of been a challenge in somewhat in that architecture of with the provisioned throughput of the past, just getting that right, tuning that dial a little bit is sometimes been a challenge, and that's what we announced today. That's, in my opinion, very, very exciting. Is on-demand tables for DynamoDB. What does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of the literature about serverless, it often includes sort of two key tenets, right? One is that it just scales automatically, and another is that you never pay for idle, right? Now, when you use DynamoDB on demand, we're really fulfilling all of those tenets because you never select what your provision throughput has to be, right? You're not telling Dynamo, I expect my application to drive, so many reads and so many writes per second, and thus you're kind of forced into making a choice whether, do I over-provision or do I under-provision, and did I guess my application throughput correctly? You don't have to do that. In DynamoDB, on demand, we offer simple pay-per-request pricing, so there's no such thing as paying for idle, right? You're paying only for the reads and writes that you actually perform.
That's a big deal, right? This addition is actually, to me, a really big deal. what kind of customer feedback drove this decision?
Yeah, it's really customer feedback from a lot of our customers who are even quite experienced, right? Even sophisticated customers still have some difficulty when it comes to capacity planning, right? It's one of those things that capacity planning it's really important, but it's also hard, and when you do it right, no one notices, but if you do it wrong, kind of everyone notices, right? And so when we talk to our customers, they often told us, well, when I'm building a new application, right, or if I have a table that I'm not paying intensely close attention to, I'm not really sure how many reads and writes that this table is actually going to need. So oftentimes, customers tend to err on the side of caution. They'll over-provision, which does drive up your overall costs. And as a result, customers frequently asked us, well, Dynamo, can you just sort of handle this capacity planning for us so I don't have to make all these choices and do all this management? And with Dynamo OnDemand, that's really our answer to all of these customer inquiries, right? With Dynamo OnDemand, you just turn over all of the responsibility and burden of capacity planning over to DynamoDB, and you just drive your application workload, as low or as high as it is.
I really love these kinds of technologies that let me as a developer stop worrying about things that I'm not necessarily great at, like forecasting usage and trying to determine what those peak reads and writes is going to be, something that I really don't have a ton of experience with. This, in way similar to Lambda, takes away some of those concerns that I don't really want to be messing around and spending my time on. It lets me focus on the things that actually differentiate my application for my users and customers, which I think is awesome. So I think this is a really cool step, and I think hopefully it's going to make people that are interested in serverless architecture be able to be more agile and create cooler things using DynamoDB. Just hook it up and set it and forget it kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think that really kind of encapsulates our philosophy when we're building on demand, right? Is, while we're the service team that's building DynamoDB, we don't expect, nor do we really even want our customers to be experts in all of the nuances and ins and outs of using DynamoDB, right? Like, we want our customers to focus on their own core businesses, to focus on their business logic, and to improve their applications, And that's what we want them to spend their time on, not reading through DynamoDB documentation and trying to forecast what their application traffic volume is going to be.
So let's say that I've created an application that's already running on Dynamo and it's got some usage and I already have some provision tables. Is it possible to enable the on-demand DynamoDB feature for my existing application?
Yes, it is. So today, when you go into the DynamoDB console, you can actually do two things. You can create new tables and select on-demand as the capacity mode for those tables, or you can go to any of your existing tables in all commercial regions and go to the capacity tab and just say, I want to change this table from provisioned to on-demand. And we don't want to lock our customers into any particular billing model or capacity mode, right? What we've enabled with DynamoDB OnDemand is the ability to freely switch between provision mode and on-demand mode. So you can try it out. If you find that you can actually reasonably accurately predict your application workload, you can always go back to provisioned. But if you like the convenience and the rapid scalability of on-demand, you can just stick with on-demand.
And who would like that, right? Just kidding, I would, right? That's exactly what I've wanted for a long time too, even as employee and customer of AWS. Now, I want to take a question from the chat too. We've got Lance H. a while back asked, is there any way to run Dynamo locally for dev work or testing, which I can answer a little bit. I've used personally a Docker image that I believe is community driven. Maybe one of the helpful chat moderators can drop a link if they can find it. I don't remember the name of it, but it is a Docker image that is essentially like API compliant with Dynamo, so that you can run it locally. Do you have any other suggestions about that?
Yeah, so you can go to, we have a Docker image. You can also go to the DynamoDB developer guide and just look for something called DynamoDB local. DynamoDB local is, as the name would imply, like a local instantiation of DynamoDB that you can run on your local machine. You can try out all of the DynamoDB APIs and just kind of get a sense of how it works. And when you're ready to move your application over to real DynamoDB, you have all the training that you need.
Which
So
tells you the
let's-
last time I did local development with it too, because there's now an official one. I was using one that wasn't, so this is great that we've picked it
So
up.
let's say that my social network for cats suddenly gets covered by a wide range of publications and traffic just goes crazy. How quickly can DynamoDB OnDemand handle that increased load?
Yeah, so with DynamoDB OnDemand, we can instantly accommodate any workload that's reached any previously reached level, right? So for example, you can go to anywhere really from 0 to hundreds of thousands of requests per second. If you reach any previously unreached workload, for a new high watermark, so to speak, DynamoDB will rapidly accommodate your new workload, and from that point on, you can just spike freely between 0 and that high watermark at any time.
So I don't think I'm going to be able to do the rest of this talk, Brandon, because you have not invited either one of my cats to your cat social networking.
Well, it's very exclusive
platform.
right now. It's still in beta, and I'll see if I can get you on the list. But
No, I don't want to be on the
list.
list.
We'll talk later.
Otis and Sam, hi. If you're watching, go to sleep. It's past your bedtime. So let's get back before I lose all credibility. What kind of features are supported for Dynamo OnDemand?
Well, that's one of the best things about Dynamo OnDemand, right, is that there's full feature parity with all existing DynamoDB features. So if you've had a chance to use DynamoDB, we hope you've tried things out like Time to Live, which provides automatic expiration of your items at no additional cost to you, right? Which is a great cost efficiency measure if you want to just rapidly delete a lot of items. It's fully compliant with all of our backup and restore capabilities. So you can take an on-demand snapshot, which is perfect for compliance, or if you need to fulfill regulatory responsibilities. That provides you with an on-demand static snapshot, which DynamoDB retains in perpetuity until you choose to delete it. On-demand works with point-in-time recovery, which provides the ability to rewind to any 35 days back in the past and specify a second to recover to. It's kind of the whoops button for DynamoDB. Global tables, our multi-region, multi-master replication system that enables you to run your application in multiple locales around the world with minimal latency. All of these features are supported with OnDemand.
Yeah, this is awesome stuff, especially if you have ever had to manage your own databases, if you've ever had to manage those backups and go try and restore something from the past when things go wrong and find out that your backup is corrupt or it's not where you thought it would be or it's out of date. DynamoDB really takes care of all of that stuff for you, which is fantastic. We've got a question from the Twitch chat. This is from Super Game Maker. Should we warm up our tables with high traffic first?
Yeah, you can definitely warm up your tables with high traffic first. So, for example, right, if you are, let's say your cat application, right, it's going to be the I'm not sure what the Westminster Dog Show equivalent is for cats, but I'm
Probably
sure
the Westminster Cat Show, but I'm just guessing.
yeah.
Friskies Nationals.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I just made that up. I don't know.
So on the day of the cat show, right? You've purchased sponsored advertising, so that everyone who's watching the show, when they're admiring all the cats, can also see your new cat social media hub, right? On the day or prior to that day, if you're going to expect high traffic and you want to make sure that you have maximum flexibility and maximum scalability, you can drive a synthetic workload to a DynamoDB table to make sure that it's pre-warmed. You can actually even have a provision table, right, that's scaled to 1 million or 2 requests per second, depending on how optimistic you are about the success of your app.
Well, it's really going to be the Friendster of cats, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
We have another question from Twitch. This is from Java One Guy.
Not excited at all.
No?
About your application.
Well,
You left me out.
I'm not going to invite you to be an investor in the seed round then.
You
That's
cut
what
me
you
out.
get. So Java One Guy is asking, is OnDemand supported by CloudFormation or Terraform or any of these infrastructure as code tools? Is that planned? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So DynamoDB OnDemand is supported by CloudFormation at launch.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, it's one of our most frequently requested features. We know that people love CloudFormation, and we know especially that enterprises often rely on CloudFormation to deploy rather than building out, sort of your AWS stack individually, right? They just say, I want to put my entire recipe in a CloudFormation template and just click a button to have it go.
Yeah.
So we knew that going in, and we made sure to honor that request.
Awesome. So if you're not familiar with CloudFormation, it's a way to define templates that allow you to define your infrastructure in code in a repeatable way so that you can spin up a stack of a bunch of different AWS services that are all tied together, that are all hooked into your parameter store, your key values, all of that, and make sure that your architecture is not requiring someone to log into the console and click around and do everything manually. It's really cool. Infrastructure as code is an awesome pattern. You should check it out if you're doing anything serious with AWS.
If you want to
Highly
write
recommend it.
in real languages too that aren't JSON or YAML, go check out the CloudFormation CDK. It's relatively new. It's an interesting way to generate CloudFormation templates actually using TypeScript, Java, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got a lot of options, which it's pretty, that's an AWS thing, right? A
Sure.
lot of options for our customers.
Yeah.
How do I scale based on past scaling, right? I could manually, in the past, provision out more read and write throughput. I could use the newish auto scaling feature, or I can use on-demand. How do I pick between these three?
Sure, yeah, that's a good question. So
I wouldn't ask it if it wasn't a good question, just so
I
you
know.
know. I only ask good
That is a
questions.
lie. That is a lie.
that's why you're on stage all night.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why they put me up here, you know?
No, so I think the best way to approach this is really to think about what your application is going to do and how well do you know or how confident are you that you can forecast what your application will require, right? For example, if your application is going to run at a steady state, 5,000 requests per second, your best bet in terms of cost optimization and just overall performance is probably just going to be to provision enough for those 5,000 requests. On the other hand, if you have a gradually changing workload, you might choose auto scaling, right? Because you don't want to pay close attention to it, but keep in mind that auto scaling is a reactive process, right? So it has to observe changes in real life traffic. It has to determine what the right adjustment to your traffic is going to be, and then it has to go execute that change. So if you have a gradually sloping change, then auto scaling is a great choice. It's really for the cases where you just aren't really sure what your workload is going to require, right? If you expect that this thing could require anywhere from a few, or it might even require thousands of requests per second right off the bat, well, that's what on-demand is best for, right? You can instantly spike right out of the box with a brand new, fresh DynamoDB on-demand table and instantly go to thousands of requests per second. And so, it really comes down to, how comfortable are you and how much time do you have, how many cycles do you have to accurately forecast what your application throughput is going to be.
Yeah, and Brandon's cat application really would have needed this if he had looped me in with my ties to the cat community. But unfortunately for him, it's going to fail. And to paraphrase my friend Mr. Wonderful, you will be smashed like or crushed like the cockroach that you are in this field. Just to let you know. That's how deeply I feel about this.
I'm not really sure how to respond to that.
No, good.
All right.
Well,
I think you just threatened him on stage.
I did. I did.
It's okay. It's okay. All right, so another question: are there any cold starts or hibernation or any increased latency using on-demand DynamoDB versus provisioned?
I'm not sure actually what the question is asking.
Does it take time to ramp up to meet increases spikes in demand? I think we might have already covered that a little bit.
No, yeah. So the way on-demand works is that we're actually predictively allocating extra capacity for you in the background, right? So this is why you really don't need to pay attention to capacity planning. Like as your workload ramps up, we're not going to wait for your workload to hit some high peak and then wait to say, oh, okay, well, this person needs more throughput. We better give them more throughput in the background. We are actively monitoring your workload the entire time that it's running. And if it even shows, a flicker of indication that it's going to spike or need more capacity, we're going to allocate that transparently for you in the background so that you never encounter any kind of hiccups in your request rate. You just get a smooth experience.
Cool. So where should people go to find out more information about DynamoDB in general and DynamoDB on demand right now? If they want to get started playing around and building the next awesome cat social media application, where can they learn how to do that?
Well, I think the best way to just get started immediately, dive right in, is to go to the AWS Management Console and go under the databases product grouping and select DynamoDB. We have just a walkthrough workflow to create your very first table. If you want to learn more about DynamoDB, though, you can go to the DynamoDB homepage, just do a web search for DynamoDB. It'll take you to our product overview. It'll tell you all the details about our features, our pricing, and if you really want to dive deep into it, I would suggest you go into the documentation, the DynamoDB developer guide, as well as you can read the AWS blog that was just published this morning about DynamoDB on demand.
Great.
Excellent.
So, thanks for joining us, Kai and Brandon. I guess thank you for joining us. We'll see how we can remedy this application thing.
Yeah.
Off screen, I hope.
All right, stay tuned for more great content live from reInvent 2018. Thanks for tuning in.